Teresa Marzoff with Culture Engineered, and I'm here today with you again talking about performance appraisals. This is our second installment on this topic, and we are answering some of the most commonly asked questions about this topic in hopes that it helps you successfully have these discussions and interactions in your business. So today's question is how to determine an employee's increase in pay. So let's get started. One little caveat to this discussion, because we'll give you 6 steps to do calculating and determining pay increases for your employees. But one quick thing, this we highly recommend at Culture Engineered that this pay increase discussion should follow some type of interaction between an employee and a manager on the employee's contributions to the company in the past period. So if you do annual reviews during the past year, quarterly reviews over the past quarter, whatever it might be. But really, regardless of your approach to compensation, it is a form of either motivating and incentivizing employees or rewarding them. So obviously, performance is a big piece of that also, and it's an exchange for that. So again, make sure that you've had that discussion. That's critical in order for the pay discussion to go better. Some argue the opposite, and that's okay, but our approach is and will likely continue to be to have pay discussions following some type of performance discussion. So let's get back to it. So step 1 in determining a pay increase for an employee is to, 1, determine your pay strategy. So although it sounds silly because obviously everyone works and assumes pay is a part of that equation, part of that exchange. But what are you looking to accomplish with pay? Because pay in different companies with different employees with different positions is really it plays a different role of importance. So some companies look to pay the most within their industry. Some really come in and are kind of the Walmarts of pay and look to underpay or kind of invest that money in different things, and pay is not high on the list of priorities as to why people join or stay with that company. So what are you looking to achieve with pay? Are you looking to essentially pay to ensure the best and brightest work within your organization? Because in your industry, in your region, pay is the prevailing criteria that people use to make choices on what jobs to take and pass up. Or are you instead looking to invest in benefits? And so pay isn't that important because most people are looking to your company to provide benefits. You hear a lot of people working for the government because they really enjoy the benefits that they receive, although perhaps maybe the pay is not best. They like the other aspects of the job. So again, step 1 is determine your pay strategy. If you don't determine what you're looking to achieve with pay, it is nearly guaranteed that you'll be a little, sorry for the silly term, but willy-nilly with the, who's paid what. It's really hard to get, without a strategy, it's really hard to get any kind of consistency throughout an organization. And you're just not using your dollars effectively because you're just kind of throwing money at employees rather than investing it. So develop your philosophy or strategy around pay. Second, assess where you are currently in relation to that strategy. So let's say that you decide, we want to be the top payer in our category, our industry, in our region. We want to outpay our competitors. So you're going to need to assess where you are currently in relation to them, and you can do this in a couple of ways. There are some free resources out there available to you. You can use, websites like Glassdoor and Indeed that really provide a lot of not only pay information, but also employees' feelings about that pay. So that can be really helpful. Another free resource to use is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They do a lot of research and benchmarking that is free and accessible to the public, and they will do it based on different positions, regions, so West Coast versus East Coast, title. So again, you can use that and that can be really helpful. It can be a bit time consuming, but if you've got the energy, time, and patience to do it, those are your resources to fall back on. If you don't, there are services that you can purchase to do that. So there's benchmarking companies, compensation benchmarking companies, and there are also consultants and analysts that'll go in, look at your pay information, and compare it to either your competitors or whoever you're looking to compete against for talent, or prevent your employees from, going to. Those are usually the two mindsets when it comes to pay in relation to competitors. So step one, develop your strategy. Step two, assess your current standing based on benchmark data. And then step three is address any gaps first. So a lot of companies going through this process will find several gaps. Address the ones most critical to your business first, and those that are legally concerning. So for example, a colleague of mine found a gender discrepancy within assessing their pay. That was really important for their company from a legal standpoint and a morale standpoint to address, to do the right thing. Also, if you are not sure how to prioritize that, here's what we advise you to consider. Those most critical to your business's success, address those gaps first. So if you have 50 employees that are way out of whack with both your strategy and whatever the benchmark current standing data shows, then address those ones that are really you're depending on for driving your business in the new period. So if it's annually in the new year, who are you? What employees do you need to show up and work every day? Your business's success depends on it. Start there and then work backwards, addressing gaps where you can. Maybe, and this is not uncommon, maybe you only focus on increases to fix the gaps this year, and there are no annual increases, I'll just say for the sake of talking, annual increases across the board. Maybe you're only focusing on addressing the gaps, and that's what you have to do. So address that first. And then step four, determine your approach to increases. So saying that you still have some budgetary amounts after addressing gaps, or you didn't have gaps in your process, now you want to go and apply to the rest of the employee population. There's typically three approaches. The first is cost of living increase. So the cost of living is something that's calculated each year by the Social Security Administration. And for 2019, for example, it was 2.8%, which was one of the highest in the last, 7 years. So it's usually a pretty conservative percentage, and we usually recommend this only for companies that feel that they are pretty much on point with both their philosophy and whatever current standing they have. They're only looking to stay in alignment with the economy, and so those types of companies would probably benefit most. Tenure is a second approach. So tenure based. So in that you have a pool of funds that that are designated to pay increases, and the bulk of it is given to those with the most seniority in your organization. This used to be very common, is not so common anymore, but really this would be recommended for a company that places a lot of importance on seniority within an organization. Maybe it's a very complex, difficult type of skill to master, especially the way your organization does it. So in that situation, you would really want to place high importance on retaining those employees that have been with you a long time, because they have a lot of valuable knowledge that they've accumulated over those years. So in that type of organization, they likely look to use the bulk of the budget to reward those that have been with the company a long time. And the less time you've been with the company, the less pay you receive, either percentage-wise or dollar-wise. That really can vary. And then the third and probably most common approach is a merit-based increase. So That would be based on an individual's performance and how it impacted the overall success of the company. So top performers are taking home more of the budgeted amount compared to lower performers. And again, that can be a percentage increase or a dollar calculation. This can be hard to do, especially if you have a lot of people to consider. So one way we recommend capturing that data so that you can do it a little more strategically. Let's say you have 20 reviews to do, and that is overwhelming. One tool that we recommend using is the skill versus will matrix. It's a matrix where you identify how high or low a person's skill is in the position and how high or low their will is. So that's more of a behavioral metric. How much they try at the job, how good their attitude is, how motivated they are. So your A and B players will typically be in the high performing, high skill, high will category, making up the ones that are most impacting to your company's success. And then you'll want to, develop a strategy for each of the quadrants. That can be a really helpful way to approach a wide range of employees if you have a lot of appraisals to do. That really is helpful. And then step 5 is get preliminary approval. So you've calculated, you picked your approach, you determined what increase is correct, and 3% is pretty average, so keep that in mind. So you've identified how, what increases people should get the approvals you need. This is important because no matter what happens, if you have, let's say you're saying, a 6% increase for someone, and you have that discussion with the employee and then come back and you get informed that no, you have to take that from someone else. We don't do anything more than a 3% increase. And these discussions happen, mind you. You'll have to go back to that employee and inform them of the change. While they may have been happy with the 3% increase initially, now having reduced it from 6%, it's only going to lead to trouble. So really get the approvals you need, step 5, because step 6 is to meet with the employee. And emphasis on meet with the employee. This should be a discussion. You should review the pay increase with the employee. Even if you're not giving a pay increase to the employee, have that discussion because the waiting, the anxiety will make it worse. Whatever the decision is makes it worse. So have the discussion. Be as transparent as possible. That really, employees typically, although it's a hard message to receive sometimes, it's still a better received message than them just guessing. I guarantee when employees guess, it's always worse. So just give them the hard news, soften it up a little, practice it, but definitely give them some information that led you to that conclusion. And then if the employee is happy with the increase or lack of increase, provide them reasoning for that, which we just discussed, and also give them some ideas on how they can improve their pay. So maybe, is there another job open that maybe they should consider applying for? Is there a skill that they can acquire that would, earn them more pay in your organization? Or can they just improve their performance so that next time you have this interaction, they're going to have a better review, which leads to a better pay increase. So really give them some options. Employees like to, everyone, just human nature, we like to have control over our own destiny. So this is how you give it to them. So a couple of do's and don'ts. We'll start with the don'ts first. Don't communicate through email only. Don't do this. This should be an interaction. If you don't work in the same office, meet through FaceTime, some type of interaction, not just pushing information at people, because it's a valuable part of that process. Especially most employees are, while we might think that 5% is a lot, when an employee calculates it based on their hope of 10%, this is significantly lower, so it helps to give some context, and that can only be done through communication. So communicate it, discuss it, and then again, the more context you give it, the more it should tell the story as to how you came to that amount. Second, don't wait too long. If you have a performance review, maybe you do them annually. You do the review in December, have that pay increase in January. Unfortunately, I know that sometimes, those that control the budget are very slow in approving this process, but try and expedite that as quickly as possible, because the longer you wait, the less value and appreciation that employees will have over that change. And those that didn't get a good increase perceive it as having less time to change the future. So again, have it as quickly as possible following your performance discussion. The third and final, don't shy away from difficult discussions. Having a discussion, although uncomfortable and unpleasant, is much better than not having it at all. So have the discussion, give the information to the employee that they need to make a decision to either improve their performance, not improve their performance, or even go somewhere else. It's terrible to lose an employee, but it's worse to have an employee quit while they're working for you. They show up every day, but they're not doing their job. Don't let this happen. Have the tough discussion. Couple do's for you. The first, do provide employees ways they can achieve their compensation goals. So if you tell them, I gave you this 5% raise and everyone else only got 2% or something, and that's still not enough for them, they're still struggling, they're dissatisfied, look to brainstorm with them how they can get more money in their pocket. Maybe they can, again, like we talked about before, pick up another job, apply for another job within your organization, get some new skills, improve their performance, whatever it might be, but give them the control. And also this will help you to hold them accountable. They're determining their destiny, not you. You're just delivering on the consequences that they decided upon. So that's a really important shift when it comes to appraisals. The second, do share your method in calculating the increase. A lot of companies are concerned in sharing this information. It should be fair how you calculated it, so share it with them. If, hey, at the end of the day, we only had this much to play with, so I gave you 5%, even though really that, I had to borrow from others. The medium is 3%. You're telling your top performer who is hoping for, $20,000 raise and instead got a $6,000 raise. That's a pretty big difference. So chat with them, explain the reasoning, and a lot of times this will make a huge difference in how they receive that. I was working with one company that was really struggling financially. They're in a shrinking industry, so money is a huge factor. So having that discussion with employees allowed them to really respect and appreciate the increases they got, although pretty small. They really appreciated them a lot more than not. If it's a low performer, inform them that rather than giving them a hefty pay increase, you're investing that money in their development. You're getting them some additional training, because that is the better way to, one, improve their performance, and two, ensure that they get a better increase next year. It can lead to a lot of positive discussions. Even at the heart of it, it's a hard to discuss negative message. And then the final do expect employees are going to discuss it. Their pay increases and their pay in general. Discussing pay is a protected activity by the National Labor Relations Act, and it's enforced by the National Labor Relations Board. And if you were to go through the different labor organizations and rank them from best to work with to scariest to work with, they would be on the scary side. So stay away from that. Don't discipline employees for talking about pay. Don't discourage it, really. You really want to assume that they're going to discuss it, because they are. So know that, and at the end of the day, if your approach to calculating pay increases and just pay in general is fair, then you shouldn't be afraid of what they uncover when talking to each other. Plus, you give it context, whereas if I feel I got a good raise until I talk to my friend, I don't have the context to decide why that made sense or is not okay. So that's it for today. Those are our do's and don'ts, as well as 6 steps to determining an employee's increase in pay. So next week we'll talk about how to deliver an unfavorable performance review. So good tips in there. If you need additional help on having positive reviews in your workplace, contact Culture Engineered. And otherwise, we'll see you next week. Thanks so much.